Hana thought her brother had lost his mind. She stood in the middle of their ship's common room with her arms crossed, staring at Taman like he had suggested they fly into a black hole. "No," she said for the 10th time. "Absolutely not. We are not buying a dragon, especially not a dragon that kills people. It only killed people who tried to control it," Taman argued. He held up his data pad, showing her the research he had done all night. "Look at this. Dragons from Dracoria were intelligent beings. They had their own civilization, their own culture. The only reason they attacked was because people treated them like animals." Daehyun leaned against the doorway, rubbing his tired eyes. It was early morning by ship time, and Taman had woken them both up with his crazy plan. "The boy has a point," he said slowly. "I read about Dracoria once. The planet was destroyed by the Vortex Collective about 50 years ago. They hunted the dragons to extinction because dragons would not serve them. They wanted to be free." "That's very sad," Hana said, "but it does not change the fact that we cannot afford a dragon. Did you see the price? That's our savings, Taman. That's the money we need to fix the ship and buy food and fuel." "I know," Taman said quietly, "but I think Mom would want us to do this." Hana's expression softened. She sat down next to her brother, her anger fading. Their mother had died when Taman was 8 and Hana was 13. A ship accident during a salvage mission. It had been just the 3 of them since then, with Daehyun joining their crew 2 years later. "Why would Mom want this?" Hana asked gently. Taman showed her the pendant, then explained about the UV light and the ancient words. He pulled up the translation on his data pad, showing her the broken phrases. Hana read them slowly, her eyes growing wider. "Mom never told us where she came from," Taman said. "She never talked about her past. What if she was from Dracoria? What if she was one of these speakers? This stone is the only thing we have left of her, and it's trying to tell us something." Daehyun walked over and looked at the pendant closely. He was quiet for a long moment, then sighed. "We will need to take a loan. A big one. And we will be paying it back for years." "You are agreeing with him?" Hana asked in disbelief. "I am saying that the boy is right about one thing," Daehyun replied. "This stone is important, and if there is even a small chance that his mother was connected to the dragons, we owe it to her memory to find out. Besides, we humans have always been good at making friends with creatures everyone else has given up on. Maybe that is our gift." Hana looked between them, then closed her eyes and took a deep breath. "Fine. But if that dragon tries to eat anyone, I am spacing it out the airlock." The negotiations took 2 days. The merchant was suspicious at first, but when he realized they were serious, his mood changed. He was eager to get rid of the dragon. Too eager, which made Taman nervous. They signed contracts in 3 different languages and handed over every credit they had saved. Then they took out a loan from a galactic trade bank that would take 5 years to pay off. When the papers were finalized, the merchant looked relieved. "Good luck, humans. You will need it. I will have the dragon delivered to your ship within the hour. Make sure your medical bay is ready. You will probably need it." Moving the dragon was a massive operation. It took 6 cargo bots and a specially modified container. The dragon never woke up during the transport, which worried Taman. It just lay there, breathing slowly, its eyes closed. They loaded the container into the Morning Star's cargo bay, which they had emptied completely. The bay was big enough for the dragon to move around, but just barely. They set up the environmental controls to match Dracoria's atmosphere as closely as possible, based on historical records. Warmer than humans liked, with more oxygen. When everything was ready, they opened the container. The dragon did not move. It lay on the cargo bay floor like a massive sculpture, so still that Taman was afraid it had died during the transport. Then he saw the slight movement of its chest. Still breathing. Still alive. Now what? Hana asked, standing in the doorway with her hand on the door controls, ready to seal the bay if the dragon attacked. "Now I try to talk to it," Taman said. He walked toward the dragon slowly, his hand wrapped around the pendant. "Taman, wait," Daehyun called out. "We should be careful. We should have a plan." But Taman was not listening. He felt that pull again, that feeling of being called. He walked right up to the dragon's head and sat down on the floor next to it. "Hello," he said softly. "My name is Taman. I know you cannot understand me right now, but I am going to try to help you. I have this stone and I think it means something. I think my mother wanted me to find you." The dragon's eye opened, just one eye looking directly at Taman, looking at the pendant around his neck. The eye was so large that Taman could see his own reflection in it. Red like burning coals, but also sad. So incredibly sad. Taman held up the pendant. Can you see this? Do you know what it is? The dragon's breathing changed, became faster. The eye blinked and Taman saw something that shocked him. A tear. A single tear running down the dragon's scaled face. It's okay, Taman whispered. You're safe now. No one is going to hurt you anymore. I promise. He stayed there for hours, sitting next to the dragon, talking about nothing and everything. He told the dragon about his mother, about the ship, about the stars they had seen. Hana and Daehyun watched from the doorway, ready to intervene if needed, but the dragon never moved. It just listened, its one eye never leaving Taman's face. Eventually, Taman fell asleep, leaning against the dragon's warm scales. He was exhausted from 2 days of no sleep. Hana wanted to wake him and drag him to his cabin, but Daehyun stopped her. Look, he said quietly. The dragon had moved. Slowly, carefully, it had curled its body around Taman like a protective wall. One of its massive wings draped over the boy like a blanket. The dragon's eyes were closed now, but its breathing was peaceful. Calm. They have bonded, Daehyun said in wonder. I did not think it would happen so fast. That night Taman dreamed. He was standing on a world he had never seen before. The sky was orange and purple, with 3 moons hanging low on the horizon. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks covered in snow. But the valleys below were warm, filled with forests and rivers that glowed with strange light. Dragons filled the sky. Hundreds of them, thousands flying in patterns that looked like dances. Their scales were every color imaginable: red, blue, green, gold, silver, white, black. They sang as they flew, and their song was the most beautiful thing Taman had ever heard. Then a voice spoke in his mind. Deep and ancient, tired but kind. At last, a speaker. I thought I would die in silence. Taman spun around. Behind him stood the dragon from the cargo bay, but different, healthy, strong. Its scales gleamed in the strange sunlight. Its eyes were bright and clear. You can talk, Taman said, amazed. I have always been able to talk, the dragon replied. You simply could not hear me until now. The stone around your neck is a speaker's stone. It allows your mind to connect with mine. Your mother must have been from Dracoria, or at least trained by our people. She gave you a great gift. What is your name? Taman asked. Igith, it means last fire in the old tongue. I am the last of my kind, young speaker. The Vortex killed all the others. They burned our world and hunted us across the galaxy. They wanted us to serve them, to tell them our secrets. When we refused, they decided we were too dangerous to live. The beautiful world around them began to change. The sky darkened. Fire fell from above like rain. The singing dragon screamed. Taman watched in horror as the vision showed him the death of an entire species. Ships filled the sky, firing weapons that burned everything they touched. Dragons fell from the air, their wings torn, their bodies broken. Stop, Taman cried out. Please stop. The vision ended. They were back on the peaceful world, but now Taman understood. He understood the sadness in Egath's eyes, the pain, the loneliness of being the last of your kind. I am dying, Egath said quietly. I have been dying for a long time. Grief, pain, and hunger have eaten away at my strength. I did not want to hurt the beings who tried to bond with me, but without a speaker I could not control my fear. I lashed out. I killed people who only wanted to help. I am sorry for that. You are not going to die, Taman said firmly. I will not let you. We are going to make you better. We are going to help you. Why? Igath asked. Why would you help me? My kind is gone. My world is ash. There is nothing left to save. Because you are still here, Taman said. Because you matter. Because my mother gave me this stone and I think she wanted me to find you. And because no one should die alone. Igath looked at the boy for a long moment, then lowered his head. You are brave, young speaker. Braver than I have been. Very well. I will try to live if you will help me. But you must understand something. The Vortex believe all dragons are dead. If they learn I still live, if they discover I have bonded with a human speaker, they will come for us. They will destroy everything you love to get to me. Your family will be in danger. Then we will face them together, Taman said. That is what family does. Taman woke up in the cargo bay, still wrapped in Igath's wing. The dragon's eye was open, watching him. But now, when Taman looked into that eye, he felt the connection. He could sense Igath's thoughts, his feelings, relief, gratitude, and underneath it all, a tiny spark of Ishe. The first few days were difficult. Igath was too weak to do much more than breathe and occasionally shift his position. His wounds from years of captivity and failed bonding attempts needed time to heal. Taman spent every free moment in the cargo bay, sitting with the dragon, talking to him through the connection the stone provided. Through their bond, Egath taught Taman about his people. Dragons were not just animals or beasts. They were an ancient civilization that had existed for thousands of years before humans even left Earth. They were philosophers, artists, and guardians of knowledge. Each dragon could live for centuries, accumulating wisdom and memories that they passed down through the generations. We were keepers of balance, Egath explained one evening. His mental voice had grown stronger as his body healed. There are places in the universe where energy flows from the very fabric of reality. We called them Genesis wells. These wells hold infinite power enough to fuel entire civilizations for millennia. Our people made a choice long ago. We decided that no single species should control all the wells, so we scattered ourselves across the galaxy, each guardian watching over one well, making sure it was never misused. The Vortex found one of these wells? Taman asked. Yes, 300 years ago they stumbled upon the Well of Andara. Instead of using it wisely, they drained its power to build weapons and expand their empire. When we tried to stop them, they decided we were their enemies. They hunted us. They tortured us for information about the other wells. When we refused to tell them, they killed us and destroyed our world. Taman felt sick. How many wells are there? 7. The Vortex know of only one. The locations of the others died with my people. I am the last who knows where they are. Then we have to protect you, Taman said. If they find out you are alive, they will come for you. They will come, Egath agreed. It is not a question of if, but when. The merchant who sold me was greedy, but he was not stupid. He will have told people about a human boy who bought a dragon. Word travels fast in the trading stations. The Vortex have spies everywhere. As if Egath's words had summoned danger, an alarm went off throughout the ship. Hana's voice came over the intercom, sharp and urgent. Everyone to the bridge, now, we have a problem. Taman ran from the cargo bay to the bridge. Hana was at the controls, her face pale. Daehyun was working frantically at the navigation station, pulling up star charts and calculating routes. What is it? Taman asked. A ship just dropped out of hyperspace behind us, Hana said. Vortex design. They are hailing us. On the screen, a face appeared. It was humanoid, but not human. The skin was pale blue and stretched tight over sharp bones. The eyes were black like deep space with no white at all. When it smiled, Taman saw teeth like needles. Greetings, Morningstar, the alien said. Its voice was smooth and cold. I am Commander Vera of the Vortex Collective. We have received interesting information about your cargo. A dragon purchased from Helios 9 station. We would very much like to see this creature. We are just salvagers, Hana said, keeping her voice steady. We purchased an exotic animal legally. Our papers are all in order. I am sure they are, Vera replied. Nevertheless, we must inspect your cargo. It is a matter of galactic security. Dragons are an extinct species. If you truly have one, it must be studied and protected. We are simply being thorough. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. And if we refuse? Daehyun asked. Vera's smile grew wider. Then we will assume you are smugglers or pirates. We will disable your ship and board you anyway. Either way, we will see what is in your cargo bay. The choice is whether your ship remains intact during the process. The screen went dark. Hana immediately started powering up the weapon systems, which were barely functional. The Morningstar was a salvage ship, not a warship. Their guns were meant for breaking up debris, not fighting military vessels. We cannot fight them, Daehyun said. Their ship is a destroyer. We have a cargo hauler with barely working shields. We cannot give them Egath, Taman said desperately. They will torture him. They will kill him. Hana looked at her brother, then at Daehyun. She took a deep breath. Then we run. Daehyun, plot a course into the Andara Nebula. They won't expect us to go there. It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous for us too, Daehyun protested. The nebula has energy storms. Our shields cannot handle them. Then we die trying, Hana said. I am not handing over my brother's dragon to people who burned an entire world. Plot the course. The Morning Star lurched forward as Hana pushed the engines to maximum. Behind them, the Vortex destroyer gave chase. It was faster, stronger, and better armed. But Hana was a brilliant pilot. She wove between asteroids and debris fields, using every trick she knew to stay ahead. Energy blasts lit up the space around them. The shields flickered and sparked. In the cargo bay, Egath roared. Taman felt the dragon's fear and anger through their bond. I have to go to him, Taman said. Stay on the bridge, Hana ordered. It's not safe down there if we get hit. But Taman was already running. He reached the cargo bay just as another blast rocked the ship. The lights flickered. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Igath was on his feet now, his wings spread as far as the cargo bay would allow. His eyes blazed with fire. They have found me. I will not let them take me. I will not let them hurt your family. We are getting away, Taman said, trying to sound confident. Hana is the best pilot in this sector. They are too fast. They will catch us before we reach the nebula. Igath turned his massive head toward the cargo bay doors. There is another way. What are you doing? Taman asked in alarm. I'm still weak, but I am strong enough for this. Dragons were meant for space, young speaker. We were born among the stars. Release me. Let me face them. You will die, Taman said. You are not fully healed. Then I will die protecting the one who showed me kindness. Igath's mental voice was calm. But I do not think I will die. They expect a wounded, beaten creature. They will see a dragon who remembers what he is. Another blast hit the ship. Alarm screamed. Hana's voice came over the intercom. Shields at 15%. We are not going to make it to the nebula. Taman looked into Igath's eyes. He felt the dragon's determination, his rage at the vortex, his desire to finally fight back after years of captivity, and underneath it all his gratitude, his love for this strange human boy who had bought him and promised he would never be alone again. Go, Taman whispered. Show them what dragons really are. He ran to the control panel and opened the cargo bay doors. Air rushed out into space, but the emergency shields held, protecting Taman from the vacuum. Through the opening, he could see the vortex destroyer growing larger as it closed the distance. Igath walked to the edge of the bay. He spread his wings wide, and Taman saw them beginning to glow. Fire, but not normal fire. Energy from somewhere deep inside the dragon, burning cold and bright. Then Igath launched himself into space. On the bridge, Hana and Daehyun stared at their screens in shock. They watched as the dragon flew through the vacuum, his body surrounded by a field of blue-white fire. He moved like lightning, impossibly fast and agile. The vortex destroyer launched fighters. 6 small, deadly ships peeled away from the main vessel and streaked toward Igath. Their weapons blazed, filling space with energy blasts. Igath flew between them like they were standing still. His claws tore through the hull of one fighter. His tail smashed another into debris. He opened his mouth and breathed fire that burned even in the airless void, melting a third fighter into slag. In the cargo bay, Taman could see everything through the bond. He saw what Igath saw, felt what Igath felt. The dragon was not just strong. He was a tactical genius, calculating angles and trajectories faster than any computer. Every movement was precise. Every attack was lethal. The remaining 3 fighters tried to retreat, but Igath caught them. He moved through space like a dance, beautiful and terrifying. Within minutes, all 6 fighters were gone. Just debris floating in the darkness. The destroyer stopped pursuing the Morning Star. Vera's face appeared on Hana's screen again, but the commander was not smiling anymore. Impossible, Vera whispered. The dragon is battle-capable, how? Igath turned in space and faced the destroyer. Even from a distance, Taman could feel the dragon's anger radiating like heat. Tell your masters. Igath's voice boomed across all communication channels, amplified through the technology on the Morning Star. Tell them the last fire still burns. Tell them to leave these humans alone, or I will come for them. Tell them I remember every dragon they killed, every world they burned, and I will make them pay for all of it. The destroyer's weapons powered up. For a moment, Taman thought they were going to fire. Then Vera's face disappeared from the screen. The destroyer turned and jumped into hyperspace, vanishing in a flash of light. Igath flew back to the Morning Star. Taman helped guide him into the cargo bay, and as soon as the dragon was inside, he collapsed. The fight had taken everything he had. He lay on the floor, breathing hard, his scales smoking. Taman ran to him and put his hand on the dragon's side. You did it. You saved us. For now, Igath replied weakly. But Vera will return. With more ships, with an entire fleet. The first few days were difficult. Igath was too weak to do much more than breathe and occasionally shift his position. His wounds from years of captivity and failed bonding attempts needed time to heal. Taman spent every free moment in the cargo bay, sitting with the dragon, talking to him through the connection the stone provided. Through their bond, Egath taught Taman about his people. Dragons were not just animals or beasts, they were an ancient civilization that had existed for thousands of years before humans even left Earth. They were philosophers, artists, and guardians of knowledge. Each dragon could live for centuries, accumulating wisdom and memories that they passed down through the generations. We were keepers of balance, Egath explained one evening. His mental voice had grown stronger as his body healed. There are places in the universe where energy flows from the very fabric of reality. We called them Genesis wells. These wells hold infinite power, enough to fuel entire civilizations for millennia. Our people made a choice long ago. We decided that no single species should control all the wells, so we scattered ourselves across the galaxy, each guardian watching over one well, making sure it was never misused. The Vortex found one of these wells? Taman asked. Yes. 300 years ago, they stumbled upon the Well of Andara. Instead of using it wisely, they drained its power to build weapons and expand their empire. When we tried to stop them, they decided we were their enemies. They hunted us. They tortured us for information about the other wells. When we refused to tell them, they killed us and destroyed our world. Taman felt sick. How many wells are there? 7. The Vortex know of only one. The locations of the others died with my people. I'm the last who knows where they are. Then we have to protect you, Taman said. If they find out you are alive, they will come for you. They will come, Egath agreed. It is not a question of if, but when. The merchant who sold me was greedy, but he was not stupid. He will have told people about a human boy who bought a dragon. Word travels fast in the trading stations. The Vortex have spies everywhere. As if Egath's words had summoned danger, an alarm went off throughout the ship. Hana's voice came over the intercom, sharp and urgent. Everyone to the bridge, now. We have a problem. Taman ran from the cargo bay to the bridge. Hana was at the controls, her face pale. Dahyun was working frantically at the navigation station, pulling up star charts and calculating routes. What is it? Taman asked. A ship just dropped out of hyperspace behind us, Hana said. Vortex design. They are hailing us. On the screen, a face appeared. It was humanoid but not human. The skin was pale blue and stretched tight over sharp bones. The eyes were black like deep space with no white at all. When it smiled, Taman saw teeth like needles. Greetings, Morningstar, the alien said. Its voice was smooth and cold. I am Commander Vera of the Vortex Collective. We have received interesting information about your cargo, a dragon purchased from Helios 9 station. We would very much like to see this creature. We are just salvagers, Hana said, keeping her voice steady. We purchased an exotic animal legally. Our papers are all in order. I am sure they are, Vera replied. Nevertheless, we must inspect your cargo. It is a matter of galactic security. Dragons are an extinct species. If you truly have one, it must be studied and protected. We are simply being thorough. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. And if we refuse? Dahyun asked. Vera's smile grew wider. Then we will assume you are smugglers or pirates. We will disable your ship and board you anyway. Either way, we will see what is in your cargo bay. The choice is whether your ship remains intact during the process. The screen went dark. Hana immediately started powering up the weapon systems, which were barely functional. The Morningstar was a salvage ship, not a warship. Their guns were meant for breaking up debris, not fighting military vessels. We cannot fight them, Dahyun said. Their ship is a destroyer. We have a cargo hauler with barely working shields. We cannot give them a Egath, Taman said desperately. They will torture him. They will kill him. Hana looked at her brother, then at Dahyun. She took a deep breath. Then we run. Dahyun, plot a course into the Andara Nebula. They won't expect us to go there. It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous for us too, Dahyun protested. The nebula has energy storms. Our shields cannot handle them. Then we die trying, Hana said. I am not handing over my brother's dragon to people who burned an entire world. Plot the course. The Morningstar lurched forward as Hana pushed the engines to maximum. Behind them, the Vortex destroyer gave chase. It was faster, stronger, and better armed. But Hana was a brilliant pilot. She wove between asteroids and debris fields, using every trick she knew to stay ahead. Energy blasts lit up the space around them. The shields flickered and sparked. In the cargo bay, Egath roared. Taman felt the dragon's fear and anger through their bond. I have to go to him, Taman said. Stay on the bridge, Hana ordered. It's not safe down there if we get hit. But Taman was already running. He reached the cargo bay just as another blast rocked the ship. The lights flickered. Emergency systems kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Egath was on his feet now. His wings spread as far as the cargo bay would allow. His eyes blazed with fire. They have found me. I will not let them take me. I will not let them hurt your family. We are getting away, Taman said, trying to sound confident. Hana is the best pilot in this sector. They are too fast. They will catch us before we reach the nebula. Egath turned his massive head toward the cargo bay doors. There is another way. What are you doing? Taman asked in alarm. I am still weak, but I am strong enough for this. Dragons were meant for space, young speaker. We were born among the stars. Release me. Let me face them. You will die, Taman said. You are not fully healed. Then I will die protecting the one who showed me kindness. Egath's mental voice was calm. But I do not think I will die. They expect a wounded, beaten creature. They will see a dragon who remembers what he is. Another blast hit the ship. Alarms screamed. Hana's voice came over the intercom. Shields at 15%. We are not going to make it to the nebula. Taman looked into Egath's eyes. He felt the dragon's determination, his rage at the vortex, his desire to finally fight back after years of captivity, and underneath it all, his gratitude, his love for this strange human boy who had bought him and promised he would never be alone again. Go, Taman whispered. Show them what dragons really are. He ran to the control panel and opened the cargo bay doors. Air rushed out into space, but the emergency shields held, protecting Taman from the vacuum. Through the opening, he could see the vortex destroyer growing larger as it closed the distance. Egath walked to the edge of the bay. He spread his wings wide, and Taman saw them beginning to glow. Fire, but not normal fire. Energy from somewhere deep inside the dragon, burning cold and bright. Then Egath launched himself into space. On the bridge, Hana and Daehyun stared at their screens in shock. They watched as the dragon flew through the vacuum, his body surrounded by a field of blue-white fire. He moved like lightning, impossibly fast and agile. The vortex destroyer launched fighters. 6 small, deadly ships peeled away from the main vessel and streaked toward Egath. Their weapons blazed, filling space with energy blasts. Egath flew between them like they were standing still. His claws tore through the hull of one fighter. His tail smashed another into debris. He opened his mouth and breathed fire that burned even in the airless void, melting a third fighter into slag. In the cargo bay, Taman could see everything through the bond. He saw what Egath saw, felt what Egath felt. The dragon was not just strong. He was a tactical genius, calculating angles and trajectories faster than any computer. Every movement was precise. Every attack was lethal. The remaining 3 fighters tried to retreat, but Egath caught them. He moved through space like a dance, beautiful and terrifying. Within minutes, all 6 fighters were gone. Just debris floating in the darkness. The destroyer stopped pursuing the Morning Star. Vera's face appeared on Hana's screen again, but the commander was not smiling anymore. Impossible, Vera whispered. The dragon is battle-capable. How? Egath turned in space and faced the destroyer. Even from a distance, Taman could feel the dragon's anger radiating like heat. Tell your masters. Egath's voice boomed across all communication channels, amplified through the technology on the Morning Star. Tell them the last fire still burns. Tell them to leave these humans alone, or I will come for them. Tell them I remember every dragon they killed, every world they burned, and I will make them pay for all of it. The destroyer's weapons powered up. For a moment, Taman thought they were going to fire. Then Vera's face disappeared from the screen. The destroyer turned and jumped into hyperspace, vanishing in a flash of light. Egath flew back to the Morning Star. Taman helped guide him into the cargo bay, and as soon as the dragon was inside, he collapsed. The fight had taken everything he had. He lay on the floor, breathing hard, his scales smoking. Taman ran to him and put his hand on the dragon's side. You did it. You saved us, for now, Egath replied weakly. But Vera will return, with more ships, with an entire fleet. They know the Morning Star limped into the Kelvar outpost 3 days later. The ship needed repairs desperately. The shields were barely functioning, and one of the main engines was making a noise that Daehyun said sounded like death. They needed fuel, parts, and time to fix everything before they could make the dangerous journey to the Genesis well. Kelvar Outpost was a small refueling station on the edge of mapped space. It was the last stop before the uncharted regions where pirates and smugglers hid. The station was old and worn, built from the remains of ancient ships welded together. But it was neutral territory, protected by an agreement between dozens of smaller species who refused to bow to either the Vortex or the other major empires. "We should be safe here for a few days," Hana said as they docked. "The Vortex respect the neutrality agreements, usually." "Usually is not always," Daehyun muttered. He was already pulling together a list of parts they needed. "And we still have to pay off that loan for the Dragon. We are broke, Hana. How do we buy fuel and parts with no money?" "We still have some salvage in the hold," Hana said. "From that job we did before Helios 9. We can sell it here and hope it is enough." Taemin stayed with Igath while the others went to negotiate with the station merchants. The Dragon was still recovering from the fight with the Vortex fighters. His wounds were healing, but slowly. Dragons healed faster than most creatures, but years of starvation and abuse had weakened him. "I am sorry I am causing you so much trouble," Igath said quietly. His mental voice sounded sad. "You are not causing trouble," Taemin insisted. "The Vortex are causing trouble. You are just trying to survive. If I had died in that cage, your family would be safe. They would have their money. Their ship would not be damaged. If you had died in that cage, you would have died alone and afraid," Taemin said firmly. "And I would never have met you. I would never have learned about my mother's past or about the speakers. You are not a burden, Igath, you are my friend." The Dragon was quiet for a moment. Then Taemin felt a wave of warmth through their bond. Gratitude and affection so strong it made his chest tight. "You have a good heart, young speaker. Your mother would be proud." While they talked, Hana was having problems in the station market. The salvage they had was not worth as much as she had hoped. The merchants were offering prices that were barely enough for fuel, let alone parts and repairs. She was arguing with a particularly stubborn Quillari trader when she noticed something odd. People were watching her. Not obviously, but she had spent enough years in dangerous places to recognize the signs. Eyes following her movements. Conversation stopping when she walked past. Someone had recognized her or recognized her ship, and word was spreading. She grabbed Daehyun's arm. "We need to leave now." "What?" "But we have not bought anything yet." "Someone knows about the Dragon," Hana said quietly. "We are being watched. Get back to the ship and prepare to launch." They hurried back through the station's crowded corridors. Hana's instincts proved right. As they approached their docking bay, they saw armed figures waiting near the Morning Star. Not station security. Mercenaries by the look of their mixed armor and weapons. "Back door," Daehyun whispered. Every ship had a maintenance airlock on the opposite side of the main entrance. They circled around and managed to get inside the ship without being seen. "Taemin," Hana called over the intercom. "We have company. Get Igath ready. We might need to leave fast," but it was already too late. The station's docking clamps engaged with a loud clang. Someone had locked them in place. Then the power to their ship cut out. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in dim red light. "They have hacked the station systems," Daehyun said, checking his console. "They have control of our ship." A voice came over the external speakers. "Attention, crew of the Morning Star. This is Captain Boren of the Freelance Mercenary Company. We have been hired to secure your cargo. Surrender the Dragon peacefully, and you will be compensated for your trouble. Resist, and we will be forced to take it by more direct means." "Mercenaries," Hana spat, "probably hired by the Vortex. They are using proxies so they do not violate the neutrality agreement." In the cargo bay, Igath rose to his feet. "They are here for me. Can you fight?" Taemin asked. "I can try, but I am still weak, and if I damage the station, innocent beings will die. The station's hull is old. One wrong move and I could tear through it into space." Taemin could feel Igath's frustration. The Dragon was powerful, but power was useless if using it would kill innocent people. The mercenaries knew this. They had chosen their ground carefully. A loud bang echoed through the ship. The mercenaries were cutting through the airlock door. "We need to think of something," Daehyun said desperately. "If they get to the cargo bay, they will drug Igath or use stun weapons. We cannot fight them all." Taemin closed his eyes and reached through the bond to Igath. "Is there another way? Can we call for help?" "There is no help to call," Igath replied. Unless what?" "The neutrality agreement protects this station from military action. But if the station's rulers knew the Vortex were using mercenaries to violate that protection, they might intervene. They might help us. But we would need proof." Taemin's mind raced. Then he had an idea. Daehyun, can you hack into the mercenaries' communication systems? Can you find messages between them and the Vortex? Daehyun's eyes lit up. Maybe. If they are using standard encryption. Give me a few minutes, another bang. The airlock door was nearly through. They could hear voices on the other side, mercenaries coordinating their entry. We do not have a few minutes, Hana said. She grabbed a plasma rifle from the emergency locker. I will buy you time. Stay here and work. Hana, no, Taemin started. But his sister was already gone, moving toward the airlock with determination. Daehyun's fingers flew across his console. He was using every trick he knew, every backdoor and exploit he had learned in his years as a salvager. The mercenaries' systems were well protected, but not perfect. He found a crack and pushed through it. Got it, he whispered. They're getting orders from a Vortex commander. The same one we saw before. Vera. And there are messages about payment. The Vortex are definitely paying for this. Send it to the station authorities, Taemin said. Send them everything. At the airlock, Hana faced down a dozen armed mercenaries. They had cut through the door and were pouring into the ship. She raised her rifle. Last warning, she called out. Leave our ship or I start shooting. The lead mercenary, a massive creature with 4 arms and thick armor, laughed. You are one human with an old rifle. We are 12 professionals with military-grade weapons. Do the math. I do not need to do math, Hana said. I just need to do this. She pulled the trigger. What happened next was chaos. Hana was outnumbered, but she was fighting in her own ship. She knew every corner, every hiding place. She moved through the corridors like a ghost, taking shots and then disappearing before the mercenaries could return fire. She was not trying to win. She was just trying to buy time. In the cargo bay, Igath roared in frustration. He could feel Hana's danger through the bond with Taemin. The boy was terrified for his sister, and that fear echoed between them. I must help her, Igath said. You will bring down the station, Taemin reminded him. Then I will be careful. I did not survive this long just to hide while brave beings fight for me. The cargo bay doors had an emergency override. Igath knew where it was from watching Taemin use the controls. The dragon smashed through the panel with his claw and triggered the release. The doors opened, not to space this time, but to the station's main corridor. Igath squeezed through the doors. It was tight, and the station corridors were not built for creatures his size. But he managed. He crawled through the ship toward the sounds of fighting, his scales scraping against the walls. The mercenaries never saw him coming. One moment they were advancing on Hana's position. The next moment a dragon's head emerged from the corridor behind them. Igath's roar shook the entire station. It was a sound of pure rage, amplified through the metal walls until every being on the station could hear it. The mercenaries turned and found themselves face to face with a dragon in a very confined space. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Leave this place, Igath said, his voice booming through the corridors, or I will show you why the Vortex needed an entire fleet to destroy my people. To emphasize his point, he breathed a small stream of fire at the ceiling. Not enough to breach the hull, but enough to melt metal and show that he meant business. Half the mercenaries ran immediately. The other half tried to stand their ground, raising their weapons. But before they could fire, station security arrived. Dozens of armed guards in official uniforms led by a stern-looking alien administrator. All weapons down, the administrator ordered. By the authority of the Kelvar Neutrality Council, you are all under arrest for violating station law. We have evidence that you are working for the Vortex Collective, which is a direct violation of our treaties. Captain Boren tried to argue, but it was useless. The evidence Daehyun had sent was clear. The mercenaries were led away in restraints, their weapons confiscated. The administrator turned to Hana and bowed slightly. My apologies for this incident. We had no idea the Vortex were using our station for their operations. You and your crew are under our protection. The journey to New Haven took 8 days. They traveled through regions of space that most civilized ships avoided. Dead zones where navigation was difficult and pirates waited for easy prey. But with Igath's guidance and Hana's piloting skills, they made it through without major incident. New Haven was unlike anything Taemin had ever seen. It was not a single station, but a cluster of them, connected by tubes and bridges that stretched for kilometers. Around the stations floated dozens of terraformed moons, each one hosting colonies of humans who had left Earth decades ago to build their own societies, far from the reach of the major empires. There are over 2 million humans here, Hana said, reading from her console as they approached. Plus another 1,000,000 aliens who chose to join them. New Haven is the largest independent human settlement in this sector. If anyone will help us, it is them. They were met by a patrol of small fighters as soon as they entered New Haven space. The pilot scanned their ship and asked their business. When Hana explained they were seeking asylum and had important information about the Vortex, the fighters escorted them to the main station. Governor Jiwoo met them at the docking bay personally. She was a woman in her 60s with short gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She wore simple clothes, not the fancy robes Taemin had seen other politicians wear. Behind her stood a group of advisors and security personnel. "Welcome to New Haven," Jiwoo said. Her voice was warm but cautious. "We received word from Kelvar Outpost about your situation. A human boy and a living dragon fleeing from the Vortex. Is this true?" "It is true," Taemin said. He felt nervous speaking to such an important person, but Igath's presence in his mind gave him courage. The Vortex want to capture Igath. They want to torture him for information about the Genesis Wells. Jiwoo's expression changed. "The Genesis Wells are real? We thought they were legends. They are real," Igath said. His voice came through speakers on Taemin's datapad, translated from the mental connection they shared. "And I know where they are. The Vortex have been searching for them for centuries. If they find the wells, they will become unstoppable. They will control all the energy in the galaxy." One of Jiwoo's advisors, a thin man with worried eyes, spoke up. "Governor, this is too dangerous. If we harbor this dragon, the Vortex will see it as an act of war. They will attack New Haven. We cannot risk the lives of 2,000,000 people for one creature." "Igath is not just one creature," Taemin said, his voice rising with emotion. "He is the last of his kind. His people were guardians of the galaxy. They protected everyone, including humans. And when they needed help, where was everyone? When the Vortex burned their world, who came to save them? No one. Everyone just let it happen." The advisor looked uncomfortable. "That was 50 years ago. We were not even part of the galactic community then. But we are now," said a new voice. A young man stepped forward from the crowd. He wore a pilot's uniform with patches that showed he had flown in many battles. "My name is Minho. I am a defense pilot for New Haven, and I say we help them." "This is not your decision to make," the advisor snapped. "No, but it should be everyone's decision," Minho replied. He turned to address the growing crowd that had gathered to see the dragon. "For decades we have lived out here on the edge of space, fighting to stay free from empires that want to control us. The Vortex, the hegemony, all of them. They have left us alone because we are small and far away, but they are growing. Every year they take more systems, more colonies. How long before they come for us?" The crowd murmured. People were nodding. Minho continued. "This dragon offers us a chance, not just to survive, but to truly be free. With the Genesis Wells, we would have the power to defend ourselves. We would never have to fear invasion again. Yes, helping him is dangerous. But when has freedom ever been safe?" The crowd's murmur grew louder. Some people were agreeing enthusiastically. Others looked worried. The argument spread through the docking bay and beyond, carried by people with communication devices. Within an hour, the entire colony was debating what to do. Governor Jiwoo called for a council meeting. The colony was a democracy, and major decisions required a vote from the elected representatives. Taemin, Hana, and Daehyun waited anxiously while the council debated behind closed doors. During the wait, Minho approached them. "Whatever happens, I want you to know that many of us support you," he said. "We are tired of being afraid, tired of hiding. Your dragon gives us hope." "He is not my dragon," Taemin said. "He is my friend, partners," Minho smiled. "Even better. The galaxy needs more partnerships and fewer masters." The council meeting lasted for 6 hours. When it finally ended, Governor Jiwoo emerged, looking tired but determined. "The council is divided," she announced. "We have decided to put the question to a colony-wide vote. Every adult citizen will have a say. The vote will take place tomorrow. Until then, you are welcome to stay as our guests." That night, Taemin could not sleep. He sat with Igath in a special hangar they had been given for the dragon. The space was large enough for Igath to move around comfortably, and it had reinforced walls in case of attack. "What if they vote no?" Taemin asked quietly. "What do we do then?" "Then we leave," Igath replied. "I will not force these people to risk their lives for me. It would make me no better than the Vortex. We could find the Genesis well ourselves, just our crew. The well is in hostile territory. The region is filled with spatial storms and gravitational anomalies. Your ship would not survive the journey alone. We need escorts. We need help. Igath was quiet for a moment. I am sorry, young speaker. I have brought you nothing but trouble. You have brought me purpose, Taman said. Before I met you, I was just a salvager. Now I am part of something important. I am helping to save the last dragon. That matters. The next day, the vote took place. It was close. Very close. In the end, 52% of the colony voted yes. They would help Taman and Igath reach the Genesis well, but there was a condition. They would not give the well to humanity alone. Once they secured it, the well would be open to all free species. No single group would control it. It would be a gift to the galaxy just as the dragons had originally intended. That is acceptable, Igath said. That is how it should be. Plans were made quickly. New Haven would send 20 ships to escort the Morning Star to the Genesis well, half of their defense fleet. It was a massive commitment, leaving the colony vulnerable, but Governor Jiwoo insisted. If we are going to do this, we do it right, she said, and we need to move fast. Our spies report that a Vortex fleet is gathering 2 systems away. They know you are here. They will attack soon. 3 days later, the fleet was ready. 20 ships of various sizes and designs, all armed and crewed by volunteers. Minho would lead the fighter squadron. Governor Jiwoo herself would command from a battlecruiser. The night before they departed, there was a ceremony. The people of New Haven gathered to see them off. Children waved flags. Adults cheered. It felt like something out of an old story. Heroes going off to face impossible odds. Taman stood next to Igath, feeling overwhelmed. They are treating us like heroes, he whispered. But I am just a kid. I do not know if I can do this. You are not just a kid, Igath replied. You are a speaker. The last speaker. And I have faith in you. As the ceremony ended and people began to disperse, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed. Governor Jiwoo's voice came over all channels. This is not a drill. Vortex fleet detected at the edge of our system. Multiple destroyers and a flagship. They are heading directly for New Haven. Estimated time to arrival, 3 hours. All defense forces to battle stations. All civilians to shelters. The crowd panicked. People ran in every direction trying to get to safety. The careful plans they had made were suddenly useless. The Vortex had arrived early with more ships than expected. They are here for me, Igath said. There was no fear in his mental voice, only grim acceptance. They came with a fleet to make sure they do not fail this time. Governor Jiwoo appeared on the main screen, her face pale but determined. Morning Star, we have a choice to make. We can send you away now. Try to get you to the Genesis well while we hold off the Vortex here, or we can keep you here and use Igath to help in our defense. Either way, people are going to die today. Taman looked at Hana and Daehyun, then at Minho, who had stayed by their side. Then at Igath. What do we do? Hana asked. Taman felt the weight of the decision crushing down on him. If they ran, New Haven might fall while trying to protect them. If they stayed, they might never reach the Genesis well. And without the well, they had no hope of truly stopping the Vortex. But through the bond, he felt Igath's thoughts. The dragon was thinking about his people, about all the dragons who had died protecting others, about the duty they had chosen centuries ago. We stay, Taman said. We fight, and then if we survive, we finish what we started. Governor Jiwoo nodded slowly. Then may the stars watch over us all, because in 3 hours we are going to war. The Vortex fleet emerged from hyperspace like a swarm of metal insects. 8 destroyers surrounded a massive flagship that was 3 times the size of New Haven's largest station. On the bridge of the flagship, Commander Vera smiled coldly. Prepare all weapons, she ordered. The battle for New Haven began with fire and thunder. The Vortex fleet opened fire from maximum range, sending thousands of energy blasts streaking toward the colony. The defense stations returned fire, their shields flaring bright as they absorbed hit after hit. Taman watched from the Morning Star's bridge as the space around them lit up like a deadly light show. Ships exploded. Escape pods scattered like seeds in the wind. The comm channels were filled with screams and commands and static. This is suicide, Daehyun said, his hands shaking as he tried to keep their shields stable. We cannot win this fight. But Hana's jaw was set with determination. We do not need to win. We just need to survive long enough to make a run for the well. Governor Jiwoo's voice cut through the chaos. All ships execute defense pattern Omega. Draw them away from the civilian stations. Morningstar, prepare for emergency launch the moment we create an opening. In the cargo bay, Igath was ready for battle. But this time Taman had a different plan. Instead of having Igath fight in space again, they had prepared something else. The colony engineers had worked through the night to install a special platform on the Morningstar's hull. Igath could ride on top of the ship, protected by extended shields, and use his power to defend them during their escape. "It is time," Igath said. "Are you ready, young speaker?" Taman climbed into a special harness they had designed. It would let him ride on Igath's back, maintaining their mental connection while the dragon fought. He was terrified, but he did not let that fear stop him. "Ready," he said. Minho's fighter squadron screamed past them, engaging Vortex ships that were trying to break through the defense line. Minho's voice came over the comm, sounding excited despite the danger. "Morningstar, you have about 30 seconds before that gap closes. Go now." Hana did not hesitate. She pushed the engines to maximum and aimed for the opening in the Vortex formation. Igath launched from the ship's airlock and landed on the special platform, his claws gripping the reinforced metal. Taman held on tight as the dragon spread his wings. They shot through the gap just as it began to close. 2 Vortex destroyers tried to intercept them, but Igath breathed fire that melted their targeting sensors. Minho's squadron covered their escape, sacrificing their own safety to buy them time. "Good luck," Minho's voice called out. Then his fighter exploded in a ball of fire, taking a Vortex destroyer with him. "No," Taman screamed, but there was no time to grieve. They were through the battle and accelerating toward the coordinates Igath had provided. Behind them, the battle for New Haven raged on. The journey to the Genesis Well took 6 hours at maximum speed. They traveled through a region called the Shattered Reach, where ancient civilizations had once lived and died. The area was filled with debris fields and spatial anomalies that made navigation nearly impossible. But Igath knew the way. He had been here before thousands of years ago, when his people first discovered the well. Through their bond, he guided Hana through the maze of dangers. They were not alone for long. 3 Vortex destroyers had broken away from the battle and followed them. They were faster than the Morningstar and gaining ground quickly. "They are not going to let us reach the well," Daehyun said. "We need to do something." "There is a spatial storm ahead," Igath said. "It is dangerous, but if we time it right, we can use it to lose them." "The storm will scatter their sensors, and scatter us too," Hana said. "We could lose our way." "Not with me to guide you," Igath replied. "Trust me." Hana looked at Taman, who nodded. They had come too far to turn back now. The spatial storm was like nothing Taman had ever seen. Space itself seemed to twist and bend. Colors that should not exist flashed across his vision. The ship shook so hard he thought it would tear apart. Through the bond, he could feel Igath using his power to stabilize their shields, keeping them alive through the impossible forces. The Vortex ships were not so lucky. One destroyer tried to follow and was torn to pieces by the storm. The other 2 turned back, unable to risk the journey. When they emerged on the other side of the storm, they found themselves in a system with a dying star. The star was massive and red, pulsing with strange energy, and orbiting close to the star, visible even from this distance, was a structure that made Taman's breath catch. The Genesis Well. It was a sphere of pure light, larger than a moon. Energy flowed from it in waves, creating patterns that were beautiful and terrifying. The well pulsed like a heartbeat, and with each pulse Taman felt something in his chest respond. "There it is," Igath said softly. "The well of dying light, one of the 7 sources of infinite energy in our galaxy. My people have guarded it for 3,000 years, and now I will pass that guardianship to you." They approached slowly, carefully. The energy from the well was so intense that their ship's instruments were going crazy. But Igath guided them to a stable orbit, and then he and Taman descended toward the well in a small shuttle. The well was even more beautiful up close. The sphere was not solid, but seemed to be made of flowing energy that never stopped moving. Platforms of solidified light surrounded it, ancient structures built by the dragons long ago. They landed on one of the platforms. Taman stepped out of the shuttle, still connected to Igath through the bond. The air here was breathable but felt heavy with power. Every breath filled him with energy. "What do we do now?" Taman asked. "You must touch the well," Igath said. Through you, I will bond the well's power to humanity. But it will not be easy. The well will test you. It will look into your heart and judge whether you are worthy. Taman swallowed hard. What if I am not worthy? Then the well will reject you and we will both die. But I do not believe that will happen. The well judges not by strength or intelligence, but by intention. Your heart is pure, young speaker. You want to help people, not control them. The well will see that. Before Taman could respond, alarms blared from the shuttle. Hana's voice came through his comm, panicked. Taman, we have company. A Vortex flagship just dropped out of hyperspace. And it is not alone. Taman turned and saw them. Not 3 destroyers this time. A whole fleet. 20 ships at least, led by the massive flagship he had seen at New Haven. They must have left the battle early to beat him here. They are launching fighters, Hana reported. And something else. A dropship heading right for your position. On the platform, Igath spread his wings and roared. I will hold them off. You must bond with the well now before they reach us. I cannot do it alone, Taman said. Not that fast. It takes time. You have no time. They will be here in minutes. As if to prove Igath's point, the dropship crashed onto their platform. Its doors opened and Commander Vera stepped out. But she was not alone. She wore a massive combat suit, a mechanical monster covered in weapons and armor. It made her 3 times her normal size and strong enough to fight a dragon. How persistent you are, Vera said, her voice amplified through the suit's speakers. But this ends now. Step away from the well, dragon. Last chance. I have had enough of last chances, Igath replied. I have had enough of the Vortex and your cruelty. You killed my people, you burned my world, and you will not have this well. Vera laughed. Brave words from a dying species. But you are weak, dragon. You have not fully recovered, and I have killed 5 dragons personally. You will be the 6th. She raised her suit's arm and a massive energy cannon emerged. But before she could fire, Igath attacked. The battle was fierce and fast. Igath was weakened, but he was also desperate. He used every trick he knew, every bit of skill from thousands of years of life. His fire melted Vera's armor. His claws tore at her weapons. But Vera was a trained warrior, and her suit was designed specifically for killing dragons. She shot Igath with a weapon that sent electricity coursing through his body. The dragon roared in pain and fell to his knees. Vera moved in for the kill. No, Taman screamed. Without thinking, he ran forward and threw himself between Vera and Igath. His mother's pendant, which had been glowing since they arrived at the well, suddenly blazed with brilliant light. Vera's weapon fired, but the beam hit the pendant instead of Taman. The stone absorbed the energy, then exploded in a shower of crystal fragments. For a moment, Taman thought he had died. The world went white. He felt himself falling into infinity. Then he heard Igath's voice in his mind, stronger than ever before. The stone is broken, but the bond is not. We do not need the stone anymore, young speaker. The bond is part of us now, part of our souls. Taman opened his eyes and realized he was not falling. He was floating. The fragments of his mother's pendant swirled around him, each piece glowing with power, and through those fragments he could see everything. He could see the well's energy. He could see Igath's thoughts. He could even see into Vera's mind, her fear and hatred and desperation. Most importantly, he could see the well judging him. It looked into his heart and saw everything. His love for his sister, his friendship with Daehyun, his bond with Igath, his desire to protect people, not to rule them, his mother's legacy of kindness and courage. The well accepted him. Power flowed through Taman like nothing he had ever imagined. It did not hurt, but it was overwhelming. He felt connected to everything, every star, every planet, every living being in the galaxy. Igath. 3 months had passed since the battle at the Genesis Well. 3 months of hard work, rebuilding, and preparation for the challenges that everyone knew were coming. New Haven had changed dramatically. The colony was no longer a collection of independent stations struggling to survive. It had become a beacon of hope for free peoples across the galaxy. Ships arrived daily from distant systems, bringing refugees, traders, and volunteers who wanted to be part of something new, something better than the empires that had ruled for so long. The Genesis Well provided energy beyond imagination. With its power, New Haven built new stations, better shields, and weapons that could defend against entire fleets. But more importantly, they shared that power freely. Any species that came in peace could take what they needed and return home to build their own defenses. It was exactly what the dragons had intended, so many centuries ago. Taman stood on an observation deck watching ships come and go. At 15 now he had grown taller, his face showing the beginnings of the man he would become, but his eyes held wisdom far beyond his years. The bond with Igath and the connection to the well had changed him in ways he was still discovering. "You should be resting," Hannah said, joining him at the window. She looked different too, wearing the uniform of New Haven's defense force. She had become a commander, leading missions to protect the trade routes around the well. "You have been working for 16 hours straight." "I cannot rest," Taman said. "There is too much to do. Too many people depending on us." "The people are depending on all of us," Hannah corrected gently. "Not just you. You are not alone in this, little brother. You never were." Taman smiled and hugged his sister. She was right, of course. He had a tendency to forget that, to take too much responsibility on his own shoulders. It was something Igath constantly reminded him about. Speaking of Igath, the dragon had become a legend throughout the sector. Stories about him spread faster than light speed. Some were true. Many were exaggerated. All of them inspired people. The last dragon, they called him. The guardian who had returned. Igath himself found the attention amusing but also exhausting. He spent most of his time at the well, studying its mechanisms and teaching Taman how to control its power more precisely, but he also made time to speak with the people who came seeking wisdom. Old habits from his days as a guardian, he explained. Daehyun had become the chief engineer of the well's defense systems. His natural talent with technology, combined with access to ancient dragon knowledge, had made him one of the most valuable people in the colony. The Morning Star still existed, but it had been upgraded so much that it barely resembled the old salvage ship. Now it served as Taman's personal transport and mobile command center. Not everything was peaceful, though. The Vortex had not returned with a full fleet as everyone feared, but they had not given up either. They sent spies and saboteurs. They spread propaganda claiming the well was dangerous and that Taman was a fraud. They tried to turn other empires against New Haven. Some of it worked. Not every species trusted humanity or dragons. Some remembered old wars and old grudges. But more and more people chose hope over fear. They came to see the well for themselves and left as believers. One evening, as Taman was reviewing defense reports, an alarm sounded. Not an attack alarm, but something else. A signal from deep space, from a region no one had explored. Igath appeared on the observation deck so quickly that Taman knew something was wrong. The dragon's eyes were wide with an emotion Taman had never felt from him before. "Wonder. What is it?" Taman asked. "What is that signal?" "I do not know," Igath said slowly. "But I recognize the frequency. It is old, ancient. It is a dragon frequency used for long-range communication between guardians." Taman's heart started racing. "But all the other dragons are dead." "You said so yourself. I thought they were. I saw them die. I felt them die through our mental connections. But this signal," Igath's voice trailed off. "It is faint. Very faint. But it is there." Governor Jiwoo was called immediately. Within an hour, they had triangulated the signal's origin. It was coming from a system deep in uncharted space in a region called the Ember Wastes, a dangerous area filled with radiation storms and dying stars. "We have to investigate," Taman said. "If there are more dragons out there, more survivors, we have to find them." "It could be a trap," warned one of Jiwoo's advisors. "The Vortex could have learned about dragon frequencies and are using them to lure you away from the well." "Possible," Igath admitted. "But I have to know. If there is even the smallest chance that I am not alone, that my people are not truly extinct, I must investigate." Jiwoo looked at the star charts, then at Taman and Igath. "If you go, you will need protection. The Ember Wastes are too dangerous for one ship alone." "I will go with them," Hannah said immediately. "As will I," added Daehyun. One by one, volunteers stepped forward. Pilots, soldiers, scientists, all wanting to be part of the mission. In the end, they assembled a fleet of 10 ships, led by the Morning Star. The journey to the Ember Wastes took 2 weeks. They traveled through regions of space that were on no maps, navigating by Igath's ancient memories and the mysterious signal that grew stronger as they approached. The system they finally reached was dead. Or seemed dead. The star at its center was a black dwarf, cold and dark. No planets orbited it, only asteroid fields and the remains of what might have once been a civilization. But on one of those asteroids they found a structure, a vault, built from materials that could withstand the radiation and time. And inside that vault, protected by energy fields that had been running for 50 years, they found something that made everyone's breath catch. Eggs, dragon eggs, dozens of them, each one the size of a person, glowing faintly with internal heat. They were in stasis, suspended in time, waiting. Agath approached them slowly, reverently. Through the bond, Taman felt what the dragon was feeling. Joy so intense it hurt, relief, hope, and underneath it all, overwhelming gratitude. "My people," Agath whispered. "They are not gone. They are just sleeping." A hologram activated, showing a dragon that looked similar to Egath but older, with scars covering its body. It spoke in the ancient dragon language, which Taman's connection let him understand. "If you are seeing this, then you are a survivor. Perhaps the only survivor. I am Elder Corva, last speaker of the Dragon Council. When we realized the Vortex would not stop hunting us, we made a choice. We gathered the eggs of our youngest generation and hid them here, in a place the Vortex would never think to look. We set the stasis fields to maintain them for 100 years, hoping that by then the galaxy would be safer." The hologram paused, as if choosing its next words carefully. "We knew we would not survive to see these eggs hatch. But we hoped someone would find them. A guardian, a friend, someone who would help our children grow and learn and rebuild what we lost. If you are that person, we thank you. Raise them well. Teach them wisdom. And tell them that their ancestors died protecting the future so they could live free." The hologram faded. Agath stood in silence for a long moment, then turned to Taman with tears streaming down his face. "I am not the last," he said. "I was never the last. I was just the first of a new beginning." The eggs were carefully transported back to New Haven. The entire colony celebrated when they heard the news. Dragon eggs. The species was not extinct. There was hope for true rebirth, but with the eggs came new challenges. They needed special care, specific conditions to hatch properly. And when they did hatch, the young dragons would need teachers, speakers. "I am the only speaker," Taman said to Egath. "How can I bond with dozens of dragons?" "You cannot," Egath replied. "But you can train more speakers. The stones like your mother carried can be created. It takes time and energy from a Genesis well, but it is possible. We did it for thousands of years, training humans and other species to be our partners." And so a new mission began. Taman worked with the well's power to create new speaker stones. He searched for individuals with the right qualities, the right hearts. People who wanted to help, not control. People who understood that dragons were partners, not pets or weapons. Among the first volunteers was a young woman named Yunji, a pilot who had fought bravely during the Battle for New Haven. She was chosen to bond with the first egg that showed signs of hatching. Taman gave her a newly created speaker stone and taught her everything Igath had taught him. How to open her mind, how to listen, how to show respect and friendship. When the egg finally cracked and a small dragon emerged covered in scales of brilliant blue, Yunji was ready. The bond formed instantly, natural and strong. The young dragon chirped and climbed onto her shoulder, looking at the world with curious eyes. "What will you name him?" Taman asked. Yunji smiled through her tears. "Sunrise. Because he represents a new dawn for everyone." Over the following months, more eggs hatched. More speakers were trained. A new generation of dragons began to grow, learning about the galaxy from their human partners. They were different from the old dragons, raised in peace rather than war, learning cooperation from birth. The Vortex heard about the eggs, of course. They tried to attack, to steal them or destroy them.